Hello children, how are you? As promised, I am back with the second module of combustion and flame, where we are going to learn about fire, different types of fire extinguishers, and the flame and the zones of the candle flame. So let's not waste of our time and start seeing the video.
How do we control fire? You might have seen or heard of fires breaking out in homes, shops, and factories. You might have seen a fire brigade also. Fire brigade pours water on the fire. Water cools the combustible material so that its temperature is brought below its ignition temperature. This prevents the fire from spreading. Water vapors also surround the combustible material, helping in cutting off the supply of air. So, the fire is extinguished. As we know, there are three essential requirements for igniting fire: fuel, air, and heat. Fire can be controlled by removing one or more of these requirements. Fire extinguishers. The most common fire extinguisher is water, but water works only when things like wood and paper are on fire. If an electrical equipment is on fire, water may conduct electricity and harm those who are trying to put off the fire. Water is also not suitable for fires involving oil and petrol. For fires involving electrical equipments and inflammable materials like petrol, carbon dioxide, CO2, is the best extinguisher. CO2, being heavier than oxygen, covers the fire like a blanket. Since the contact between the fuel and oxygen is cut off, the fire is controlled. The added advantage of CO2 is that in most cases it does not harm the electrical equipment. It can be stored at high pressure as a liquid in cylinders. When released from the cylinder, CO2 expands enormously in volume and cools down. So, it not only forms a blanket around the fire but also brings down the temperature of the fuel. That is why it is an excellent fire extinguisher.
Zones of a candle flame. What happens when the lights suddenly go off? We sometimes light a candle in the dark. You perhaps celebrate your birthday with candles on the cake. What lessons does the simple candle flame hold for us? Let's find out. A flame is the region where combustion of fuel takes place. An ignited matchstick gives the initial heat to light the candle. The wick quickly catches fire and melts the solid wax. The molten wax travels up the wick by capillary action of cotton. The heat causes melted wax to vaporize and burn in the presence of oxygen. Now let's take a closer look at our candle flame. Several zones can be observed. How many zones can you see in a candle flame? 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? A flame can be described to be hollow. There are 4 distinct zones in a candle flame. The innermost dark zone just surrounding the wick, the bright luminous zone surrounding the dark zone, the not so visible non-luminous zone, and the blue zone at the base. The dark zone is the innermost zone of the flame. But what's happening here? Here the melted wax vaporizes and collects around the wick. This is the zone of no combustion, as the wax vapors are not in contact with oxygen. Now watch the zone surrounding the dark zone. It is the brightest. This is the luminous zone. The wax vapors ignite and produce a yellow radiant flame. But why is this zone luminous? The oxygen supply not being sufficient here, the wax vapors and soot particles burn incompletely here. It is the zone of incomplete combustion. Many times we see a short red zone formed after the yellow flame zone. The soot particles that are only partly burnt glow and give an orange-red color while cooling after combustion. They are then pushed further upwards by the heat currents to the outermost zone. This zone is the non-luminous zone. It is the outermost zone which is almost invisible. It gets a good supply of air and therefore all the wax vapors burn completely. More heat than light is generated here. Now observe the small blue region here. This is called the blue zone. In this zone, the unburnt carbon particles produced in the luminous zone combine with insufficient oxygen to form carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is a product of incomplete combustion. Carbon monoxide is combustible and burns with a blue flame, releasing carbon dioxide gas.
Wow! Again, these were the interesting things that we got to learn about the fire extinguishers and the zones of the flame of the candle that we have never ever noticed till today dated. Well, in the next video we would be learning about the fossil fuels and the different types of fuels. Till then, stay safe.